Tea Time with T and M. Hey,
Hi, T.
today's guest, I have Mo Helfin for chapter 32. Life is worth living. Let's do our first cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Today I am drinking Pinot Grigio in my amazing Tea Time with Tea cup. I had already drinking tea, but now I'm ready for the good stuff. Mo, what are you drinking with us today?
I'm just drinking some water because I need to practice my hydration. And I've been telling people to stay hydrated a lot recently, but I need to practice what I preach. So,
You know, I am such a huge believer about water. I feel like I talk about water in a lot of my chapters. It honestly does so well. It does good for your skin. It does good for like everything, just your well-being. So I always try to have like water when I'm drinking alcohol. That way I'm like double fisting it, I'm ready to go. But anyway, just to kind of give everyone a little fun fact about Mo and I at Disneyland. And it was he was applying to be a trainer on my team. A bunch of the current trainers that I had at that time talked so highly of this amazing person. And unfortunately, Mo never was able to join the team. I think I was ready to do your onboarding. I think I was getting your safety vest ready. And long story short, I think we only had like a handful of conversations at work. Like maybe
so if I remember, we met like back in Goofy's kitchen where we like worked together and you were my lead, but we never like talked. I think you even gave me like a what are they called? Like those one-on-ones, like feedback things, but we never like talk until in the parade department where we were gonna work on a bigger project.
Wait, this is news to me. Why didn't you ever tell me this?
I just thought about it. Like I was thinking about it. I was like, oh shoot. Like I was kind of thinking where I was like, oh, how did I first meet her? And I traced it way back and we worked a lot together, but we never like actually talked until like parades.
What the heck? How do I not remember? Were you?
Because I was low key. I was always low key. I was kind of scared of the other department. I was like super low key, kind of just did my own thing. Yeah.
Was it for kitchen dinner or kitchen breakfast?
Both. And then there was the other like Regina was like the lead in the morning most of the time, or Nolan, like when Nolan was still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember like I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, oh shit, like no, I actually know her way before that, but we never like actually connected.
Well, I feel horrible and I apologize for not remembering. But anyway, Mo was made such an impact on from my memory first encounter with him. Actually, Mo did such an amazing thing in the beginning of quarantine. He bought me the Lisa Frank, what's it called, Morphe, however you pronounce it, makeup palette. I know I have it on today for that reason.
I love it. It looks so good.
Super sweet. He sent it to me. I didn't ask for it. I would have never bought it because, money's tight, being unemployed. But you're such an amazing human and you went out of your way and it literally brought me to tears. So I just want to say to the whole entire universe, thank you for doing that. And that was super sweet.
But you deserved it.
Oh, you're so sweet. Let's go ahead and dive into your chapter. Life is worth living. I just kind of want to put a disclaimer out to all of my viewers. This may be a very sensitive chapter that we are going to be spilling right now. Mo is going to be very open and honest and raw about what he has experienced in regards to, depression, anxiety, all of that stuff. So if any of this might be too sensitive for you, I do advise you not to watch it. If you don't like talking about emotions and anything that could put harm your way. So I will go ahead and throw that to you, Mo. Go ahead and share your story as to why life is worth living.
Yes. So I was like kind of thinking about it, like where it all started from. And I kind of was really able to identify where I wasn't really coping with my emotions, like with my depression. I really wasn't understanding myself. until the pandemic hit. Like it literally took a whole pandemic for me to realize where like why am I avoiding dealing, with like my emotions and my depression, and what am I doing? I was like self-harming myself, like overeating and just like oversleeping, overspending, and being
Interesting because people, when they hear self-harm, they assume, cutting yourself or,
mhm.
trying to commit suicide. But self-harm is so broad. And just like you said, overeating is harming yourself, sleeping too much, not being active is harming yourself. And I feel like the media doesn't tell us that. Even doctors don't really even tell you that either. So that's great that you had already noticed those signs.
Yeah, so I actually like my education, my background, a lot of it has to do with psychology, like my courses. So that's where I was able to like identify a lot of those behaviors that I had been practicing for such a long time that I didn't necessarily see as them being bad. But like I said, like with the pandemic, I was able to really practice like inwardness and self-reflection and isolation and just really coping with it. And more towards the end, like now, obviously, now that the vaccine's out, thank the universe. But it was then that I was actually able to realize where I had been my biggest enemy, like with myself, and it took me like just escaping from like mechanical society that we're all conditioned to follow along with, to realize where it's like, oh, like I need to like snap out of it and get myself together and do what's like the best for me. Because for the longest time I was kind of oblivious and blinded by it. Like it goes all the way back. I was kind of thinking about it after we had like our meeting to discuss what I was going to be talking about. I was thinking like, how am I going to like present this? And it stems all the way back to high school, where I was always just go, 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 and I've always known that I've had mental health issues, but I never really knew how to address them because like my mom and my dad never, being Hispanic, being Mexican, we don't deal with that. We're like kind of taught to like, don't think about that, ignore it. You're crazy, like it's just all in your head. So I was never supported to get the help that I needed. And I kind of developed a view of like seeing it as a weakness in a way, like with dealing with mental health. And I feel like society still views it like that, where it's like those that have mental health issues are inferior to the normal healthy people. But in reality, none of us are normal, you know?
It's crazy because you are 100% right. I think I shared it on one of my tea times before, where when I got diagnosed, I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was 17, and my father told me that medicine was for the weak and that it was all in my head and that I didn't have anxiety. I mean, hearing this as a kid, like I was still, a kid, and to hear this from your own parent was so heart wrenching. Now, fast forward to, I don't know, 10, 15 years after that, my dad was diagnosed with anxiety, and my dad had to be on meds and everything like that. I remember this ex boyfriend of mine years ago told me, like, anxiety and depression isn't real. He said it's just society has put it into people's heads for us to believe that this is a real thing. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Who wants to have this mental illness? Who wants to live their life with these fucking demons telling us we're not good enough, we're ugly, we're fat, we're gross, we're not liked, we're not loved, we're not worthy? Like, who would want to put themselves through that?
Yeah, it's actually I wear glasses too, and I've kind of always thought about those two things. Like people think about like, oh, like what would you wish for? One would be to wake up and be able to just see the world without having to pop my lenses in. Two, to be able to live a life as like a normal human being where I'm not constantly battling my inner saboteur, and like fighting against myself. So yeah, with this, like in high school I was always very involved. I was in sports and I kind of did that. I played basketball and I did it to hide my homosexuality, who I was, cover it up, but I was still like creative and theatrical because I was involved a lot in the arts. I was in choir and in theater and photography, and I also try to do like cheerleading, but this was less than 10 years ago, and like I remember the cheer coach was like so against me even auditioning for it. So that was kind of like, oh shit, like maybe like people are not ready, like I just wasn't welcomed. So I kept on with the whole charades of having a girlfriend and like being against myself, trying to like force this person who I wasn't. And once I graduated high school, I started at Disney. And there it was like I was welcomed into this world of who I am now, really being comfortable. It was hard at first. And there was a couple of our coworkers that were like, oh, like you're for sure gay. Like you just like don't want to come out. Like it's okay for you to like be yourself here, and um one of my friends was like, oh, when you finally come out, you're gonna be like a little kid in a candy shop, just grabbing everything, like going crazy. Yeah, exactly. It was like such a world, like a new world to me, like seeing people be comfortable, be themselves. And um, at first, I was still kind of like hiding who I was. But as I became more comfortable with myself and older, I kind of was like, you know what, like whatever, like I'm going to be me, like at the end of the day, like it's just me, myself, and I. And like I don't care what anybody else has to say or think.
So you said that you really noticed your depression, anxiety in high school. Was there anything in particular that you can think that might have really triggered it, that you knew you had it? Was it that you weren't able to be, your truest version of yourself? Was it because, your family didn't support you? Like, what was it, if you can think back, that you might have been like, oh yeah, I definitely had it?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of everything you just said. It was not being able to be myself. I was oppressed for so long, and that developed a deep sense of internalized homophobia that I just like started to deal with last year. And same like with my parents like not supporting me, and then like my parents got a divorce while I was in high school, and being the oldest, I kind of was like pressured to like set the example and like always just succeeding for my siblings and for my parents, not even for myself. I've always been that kind of person where like I don't matter, everybody else like is what's more important to me. So once I got to Disney and I was like out and exploring the new world that I was like in, I was still very much distracted, and like I knew that I still had issues, but again, just like living this new life, like working, and I was like obsessed with working out because working for Disney, there was an expectation of what I was supposed to look like, and I had to uphold those beauty standards that really took a toll on my mental health. And once I left Disney, it was bittersweet, like, because one chapter, comes to end, another one opens, and it took me such a long time. I think it was till this year where I finally was able to make amends and make peace with letting that part of me go, because I was taught like I was thinking about too, where like when I was talking to you about how when you said that you were used to tell your mom that you were going to work at Disney, I was the same. Like I would like go to Disneyland with my mom. I grew up in Anaheim, and I would tell them like, oh, like I'm gonna work here. Like one day I'm gonna do this, watching the parades and watching Fantasmic. And my mom and my dad were like, when are you ever gonna work here? Like being an immigrant. That's another thing. Like that was a huge trauma for me. So they were like, boy, like you have no kind of experience. They never pushed for me to do things like that. So it was hard for me to believe in myself when like my own parents didn't root for me.
Do you
So
do you think you had, well, obviously anxiety doesn't just disappear. It's something that we battle every day, just like depression. But do you feel you were depressed and were anxious while at Disney, or did it not get amplified until after you left?
yeah, no, the entire time I didn't identify it. I didn't realize that I was like over shopping, like spending money that I didn't have, putting myself in debt. I was working out 3, 4 hours a day, which is also, it's like, it's a self-harm. A lot of people think like, oh, just because you're so fit, like you're skinny, like you're beautiful. No, like that is self-harming. And so again, like I was like out and being promiscuous. And at that point, I was like, I met my husband, which I'm like extremely thankful for. Like he completely helped me turn my life around. Him and my best friend are like my rocks. They like really like if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here, honestly. You know, when like how I had told you too, like I didn't think I was gonna make it to 21. Like and then like now I'm 25 and like every year on my birthday, like on my Instagram post, I'm like, oh, like another day, another year that I made it. Like I didn't think I would be here, you know, because I had the entire time, like while I thought I was happy, I was miserable. Like I had this, I like showed this like big person that was like smiling and happy all the time, but deep down inside there was a void. There was like this big empty hole that was just never satisfied, never full, no matter how much I thought I was like giving myself to make myself happy.
And the crazy thing is, there's so many people in this world that went through what you went through. And I had already told you this, Mo, for you to realize all the trauma and pain that you went through at such a young age. I didn't even have my little, I don't know, like reality check until I'm in my 30s. And the fact that you have already gone through this and you've gone inward and you've had this, reflection on your inner self in your 20s, in your early 20s, speaks volumes of you and that you're a fucking fighter, like even though your parents were telling you, oh no, you'll never work at Disney, and like, what are you thinking? There's no way. What the hell are you gonna do there? You did it on your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to have that much like perseverance at such a young age, like I applaud you, because there's people who are older than I am, like who are still going through it and don't know what to do and are lost. And there's so many people who don't understand the concept of looking in.
Yeah. And I think that's where like I've really been able to realize like my self-worth, you know, with how much I really do mean not just to people but to myself. Like in the wise words of Mother Rue, if you can't love yourself, like how are you gonna love somebody else? You know, so the entire time I was like distracted and I was like, oh, like finally once I left Disney, it was just a whole mess and I lost my sense of purpose, you know, because I had for so long been so passionate. Like to this day, I love the brand, I love the company, I love their integrity, their goals, everything that they stand for and represent. I just love it. And I started treatment after I left Disney. In the process of leaving Disney, I started seeing a psychiatrist and um I started drinking different medication. But another thing, like when you start to delve into it, it is scary to start treatment with a psychiatrist because you hear the word and you're like, oh, like I'm not crazy. Like, why am I gonna go see a psychiatrist? But it's important to get that help, you know, because you don't know your full potential until like those boundaries, those walls are like teared down and you're actually able to see like the world and life and like all these new colors. And the medication did help at first, but again, like with the whole medication thing, the pills, you're not going to drink one pill and like your whole life is going to be solved, you know. It's a trial and error. So I was a guinea pig for, I was telling TR, I think I told you, right, for like a whole year where I had like different cocktails of like 2, 3, 4 medications at a time and nothing was working. I got so bad to the point where like I would tell my husband like, I need you to drive me to the ER and put me like in a, I think it's like 5150. Is that what it's called? Because
I don't know.
yeah, well, it's like the code word, like this person's like suicidal and they're gonna kill themselves. So there was times too where I was like driving on the freeway and I was like, oh, like I wonder what would happen. Like, would I even matter? Would I even care? Like, would anybody care if I just like drove myself off this road or into the divider, you know? And the process when I was leaving Disney, it was really hard for me because like the entire time I had thought that I had like all these friends, but nobody like reached out to me, you know, nobody like cared to ask like, oh, like how are you? Like even though I had brought it up to people, sometimes you do need that person to like check up on you, you know, and like that's why like do reach out to your friends, your family members, and even if they don't reach out to you, like do express it to them, you know, because it does matter when somebody like is there for you and like they make it noticeable where it's like, oh, I'm here for you, like you do matter, you are loved, like you are everything, like you're important and you're valuable. And so once I went down the road of taking the medications, I finally found like my magic little pill. And when was this? In 2019? Yeah, 2019 going to 2020. I was finally transferring over from community college to Cal State Fullerton. And during that time, I it seemed like everything was like still going like, you know, a billion miles per hour because I was like in the middle of planning a wedding and I was like a new school environment. Like I was still very much distracted. And so finally, the pandemic hit. The pandemic hit, and again, this was like the fifth time that I had switched medication. Yeah, so it's been a journey, and that's what I have to like constantly reiterate and remind myself and tell you guys too, you know, like nothing's gonna happen from one day. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, your journey, like there's always light at the end of the tunnel, but you just have to keep going and keep throwing fuel and coals to that steamboat, because if you don't, like the life train is just gonna run you over. You know, you can either pick up and go and hop on and join life and do something for yourself, or rot in misery. And that's literally what I told myself when I would be in bed, sleeping days at a time.
But like, you know, when you were saying about how no one reached out to you, what pisses me off so fucking much is when people tell you, I'm there for you, I'm there for you, I love you, I'm there for you, but they're only fucking there for you when you're on your high. Because let me tell you, when I was in my depressed, really bad, dark place last year, how many fucking people were actually there for me last year? No, they don't want to hear it. My social media was depressing. Most people are used to me being colorful, rainbows and sunshines and all this shit. But during last year, I couldn't. I could not be fake. I'm not a fake person. I am literally the most open, honest person you'll ever meet. And I was very depressed. So what am I going to do? I'm going to post depressed fucking bullshit because that's the shit that's going on in my mind. But people can't handle that. People stopped following me on Instagram. People stopped reacting to my posts. People would not reach out to me. And it's like, this is when I need you the most. And yet you can't handle it. So stop throwing that fucking word around or that phrase around that you're going to be there for me or that you care about me or blah, blah, blah. Because in reality, how many fucking people are actually there for you when you're in your darkest days?
Yeah.
And it sucks so bad, and I don't know how we can change that. I don't know how we can change that as a culture, as in society, in really genuinely being there. And it's hard, don't get me wrong. I've had people tell me that they want to commit suicide. I've had people tell me they thought about committing suicide. I mean, I've literally had it all. And I've said this before. My sister tried to commit suicide when I was in high school, when we were in high school. And my sister did self-harm, and she did the cutting, she did all of that. So I have literally seen and been around everything. Okay. So if you are in your darkest days, trust me, I will be there for you. It's gonna hurt. It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm an empath, so I feel your fucking pain, but I will never want people to feel what I have felt with those empty promises. And that's what's shitty. Like, you could have very easily taken your life, Mo, if you didn't have people there to support you. If you didn't have your,
Right.
you know what I mean? And I think about that. Like, you were just saying, you get on the train, or else the train's gonna fucking peace out without you. There are so many people who do commit suicide. Why? Because they're not strong enough to live. You have to be strong to live. They don't have the support, or maybe they are getting the support, but the people who are supporting them aren't supporting them in the way they need to be supported. Because just because I'm going to tell you, hey, I'm here for you, okay, what does that mean? What
Yeah.
actions speak louder than words? What are you showing me that you're going to actually be here for me? Right? And like you said, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That's honestly, I put this on everything I love. That is what kept me alive last year, because I had hope and faith that there was going to be a light, that there was going to be my fucking rainbow at the end of this dark ass tunnel. But there's poor people, there's poor humans that don't have that faith, that don't have that hope, that don't have that. And it's so unfortunate that you have to only get help from a therapist. I'm not against it. I've seen a psychiatrist 1,000 fucking times. But sometimes it's hard. Like you said, it's scary. I remember seeing a psychiatrist once, and literally he was the worst fucking person ever. I had a female once who literally, she was younger than I was, straight out of college. That bitch was just reading a piece of paper to me. And I was like, have you lived? Do you know anything of what you're talking about? Or are you just reading me a textbook? And
Yeah, I completely agree. Like what you're saying, like I was actually discouraged when I had actually with my fallout with leaving Disney, I had started like mental health treatment through the company. And I remember like the first psychiatrist I went to see, he was like, hey, like, you should just try smoking pot. Like, honestly, that would solve everything. And I had never at that point, like, um, delved into trying things like that. So I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, first of all, you know, this is why I never like treated it. And it's scary to like deal with, honestly. And that's why mental health goes and unnoticed and unrecognized for so long, because it is really scary to deal with. And we silence it and we shame it, you know? And how you're saying too, like, how people say like, oh, like I'm there for you. It also made me think about where it was like, well, where were all those friends that I had, you know, at that point when I was at Disney? Like, were they there just because I saw them at Disney, you know? And or do they I also realized that too, where like people were reaching out to me, but because they needed something from me, you know? But I always reached out to see like how people are doing, but I never got that back. So I got to the point where I was like, honestly, I'm not gonna waste the energy. Like, I already have a lot to deal with myself, that I don't have the time or the energy, as much as I want to and love people. Like, that's something that you and I have in common, like we just love. I just cannot. Like, it was just so draining, and to not be like welcomed or have that reciprocation of like, how are you doing? You know, sometimes people would fucking just ignore me, like the texts or the calls. They wouldn't respond, and it got to the point where I just kind of lost hope, you know. And I was like, my social circle, my group went from like all these people to like, oh, those people are all acquaintances, and now I have like a handful,
Yeah.
you know, of people that I can like actually
It becomes
trust.
it becomes to when it's convenient for them. And I fucking hate that shit because I'm one of those people where I will text everyone, happy St. Patrick's Day, happy
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. I hope you guys are doing well. How are you? I am genuinely interested in what you're doing with your life. And there is people who won't even fucking respond to your text message. But anyway, besides that, I can go on a rant about that. Okay, so now you left Disney. You were going through really freaking bad depression. And
Yeah, that year was like 2019 for me. No, 2018. Going 2018, 2019 was a mess. Like, I literally like slept every single day. I wouldn't shower, TR. I'm sorry, this is kind of gross TMI, but I wouldn't shower. That's what depression does to you. Like, um, and another thing, like I hate it, like when you like share, like, oh, like some people don't, they're like, oh, you don't have depression, like you don't have anxiety. Like, what do you know? You know, like unless you've actually dealt with it, like you're not gonna know what it's like. Like, depression manifests itself, anxiety manifests itself in so many different ways. And for me, it was that like being in bed. I felt so bad for my husband too, because like I was just I was literally dying. Like, I literally died. And I'm reading a book right now called The Power of Now. And like a part of it, one of the chapters, it says like, once you die, like once you actually die, you'll know what dying is like. You know, and like I died in like living, like in my living situation. And once I like a phoenix like arose from the ashes, now I actually see what it's like, you know, to like live life. And just like it made me realize like that was like reflecting back. Again, I was not able to do that until the pandemic.
I
And
wait, I swear to you, I feel like you're in my fucking brain, like you're in my soul. I swear to everything I fucking love. I said this after my depression last year, after everything, I lost everything, lost my purpose. I felt like a fucking phoenix who just rose from the fucking ashes. And that's where I'm at now. And fuck, is that an amazing feeling when you get to that point, when you have that realization and you have those aha moments where you're like, you know what? Fuck that. I went through this because of A, B, and C. And now I am here. And now I am rising above it all. Okay, I just needed to put my little 2 cents in because fuck, that was
yeah.
good.
No, I completely agree. Like how I said, like it made me realize like no matter what situation you're in, like I have depression, right? Like depression does not have me. And like you have to really reiterate and emphasize no matter the situation that you might be in, that you think like fuck, like how am I gonna ever get out of this? Like you know, you are like the power that you have within yourself goes like unrecognized for so long. Like you don't realize it. Like thinking and saying things like has so much power. Manifesting it, I feel like I've really seen that a lot these last couple of weeks, like manifestation. But it's true. It's like 100% real. So going back, like in 2018, 2019, that was like my losing purpose. Like I just wanted to like die. I was so tired. When you get to the point where you're like, fuck, like I have no purpose to live, like I'm so tired from living, that's how you know, like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? So in 2019, everything started to like kind of turn. Like I had already said, I like transferred, was going to Cal State Fullerton, and then 2020 hits. I get married in February, and that was a distraction. Again, I was always like, go, go, go. And then the pandemic hit, and my medication was switched again in May, like 3 months after, because I couldn't handle it. But during this time, I was like drinking a lot, and I was like smoking and like just doing this like nasty, bad, self-harming habits. And I totally like, I was like a complete stranger to myself. You know, I got to the point where I was like miserable and unhappy at like being at home where like you're supposed to feel like secure and happy and comfortable. I was like not there. Like I was like, what am I doing? Like I need to, I don't know. Like I was like trying to really distract myself. And it, during the pandemic, like we're still going through it now, but like it literally took the last couple months for me to um just shut down, finally accept the situation that we are living in, you know, reflect inwards and pull myself away from this madness. Like it's like a madhouse that we're living in, you know? And so that just finally made me realize like I have to like slow down. Like life is not that, like it's everything, like the situations in life are not that serious as you make it seem. Like no matter what job you have, even Haley that you had in your episode the other day, she like really touched me because like she was like, even though that part is gone, like Disney, like you don't need Disney to be yourself to spread the magic. You know, you can do it in so many different ways. And so that just really touched me where it was like, I have the power, you know, to be thankful for the small things, to continue living my life, to not be my biggest enemy, you know, and to really love myself. So during the pandemic, I like with my best friend wanted to start my own business, and like that was a shit show. Like it was cool, the idea was cute, but it was just so hard to do that, you know. And I like applaud anybody that has their own small business. I also started drag. Again, these things that I'm naming taught me so much, like through self-reflection, through like really analyzing and thinking about what I was thinking and what I was feeling. I am able to recognize what I've learned from these experiences that I've had, you know, and be thankful for the blessings that I do have. Um, so yeah, I started doing drag, and that made me like drag to me at first, again, through my internalized homophobia. I was like, fuck no. Like I look at me, like my nails are painted, you know, and I'm like doing my makeup now and buying wigs and like dressing in females' clothes. Like, hell no, you would have never ever seen me doing that like 5 years ago. So that like drag, the art form has really taught me like, you know, a lot about like loving myself, like as me, like for my body. Like I'm overweight now, like I don't care, I'm still beautiful, I appreciate every single inch of me. And it's just so crazy to me how like I am so happy now, and I was not like this when I really thought I was like this years ago. But I was so blinded by the fact that I never truly like saw myself in the mirror and accepted myself for who I was, you know? So drag has given me that power to love my body, love myself, accept my sexuality, my gender, you know. And I'm so thankful. Like, and instead of like fretting and like being petty and putting myself down over the pandemic, like I encourage everybody to instead like reflect and think of the situation, any situation that you might be in, good or bad, in a positive way. Because truly, no matter what situation we're in, you know, you don't have it as bad as other people, you know. And what's made me think this was like looking at other countries, like third world countries. And I was actually, remember how I had told you, there was an article where like people were like, oh, like Disneyland's gonna open next month, like I'm so excited. And the article was like, oh, it's gonna open again, but it's gonna be so expensive, I'm not gonna be able to afford to go to Disney. And so I was like, because that's the real fucking issue. Like, how am I gonna afford to go to Disney? Like, just listen to the privilege of that. And there's people in other countries where like the pandemic, the coronavirus, it's the least of their worries. They're like stressed and worried about like, what am I gonna eat tonight? You know?
Yeah. And one of the things that I really took from what you said was that you gained your power back. And on my last chapter of 2020 that I filmed by myself, that was when my life changed. That's when I became the fucking phoenix that I am today, is because I took that power back. I took that power back from my loneliness. I took that power back from having anxiety. I took that power back of, my self-harm, or I was the same thing where all I did was sleep, and I was unmotivated, and I didn't even want to work out. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to do any of that. And finally I was like, no, enough's enough. Enough is enough for you making me feel this way, because I'm allowing you to. I'm allowing you to break my heart. I'm allowing you to be a shitty person in my life. I'm allowing you to do these things to me. Nope. That power is now mine, and I hold it. I'm allowing myself happiness. I'm allowing myself to have peace in mind with my mind, my body, and my soul. I'm allowing myself, I'm giving that power back to me to live the life I want. Because why? At the end of the day, Mo, we have us, we have you have your own single person, your own spirit, your own body, your whatever you would call this. That's all you have. And that's what I had said. I'm like, even though I'm married and I love my husband and he adores me and he's amazing, at the end of the day, I am still going to be dying by myself. Whatever my spirits do, if they join, if they're blah, 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 whatever it is that you believe in. I keep spitting, so hopefully you can't see that on the camera. But no matter what it is, I am dying alone. And you have to realize that. So at the end of the day, you have to put yourself first. You have to do it. And it takes practice and it takes work. And it's not something that's going to come easy. You have to work on it every fucking day. Why? Because you matter. Because you are worthy. Because you have value to your life. You add that value to your life. No one else is going to make you happy. No one else is going to make you feel beautiful. No one else is going to tell you that you are worthy. You have to do it on your own. Even those fucking friends who say they're friends and they're not there. You know what? Who got you out of your depression, Mo? Honestly and truthfully, who got you out of it? You.
Right.
No matter what.
Not the psychiatrist, not the psychologist.
Nope, not all the books you read. These things helped. Don't get me wrong. I read Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Everyone knows I talk about it all the fucking time. That book saved me. But at the same time, I chose to read it. I chose to finish it. I chose to take what I needed out of that book. Very easily, I could have read the whole book and been like, nah, been there, done that. No, like, you have to make these decisions. You have the power to make the life that you want.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree, and thank you, and I've literally watched every single one of your tea times. I can relate to every single chapter, and this is why I decided to come on here and share what I've been through. I've kind of also been MIA, but I wanted to like express myself and really put myself in this state of vulnerability, which is like so unlike me. But if I can like help somebody pull them out from that hole that because we are, just like how you say, like, I have the power to do that, we also have the power to dig that hole deeper. We're digging it deeper, but you are going to be the one that throws that ladder over, to pull yourself out of it. And I'm so thankful that you've like made this platform to share with people, to have, because it's so diverse, and there's one way or the other, like, to relate with somebody, to connect with somebody, and I'm just eternally grateful for you.
Aw, well, that's why I started this, and this is why I continue doing this, because I'm hoping, even from your chapter, like, I hope obviously I don't hope that anyone's going through a depression, but if someone is and they're doing it secretly and they might not have the courage that you had, I really fucking hope that you realize how much courage and strength that you embody. Like, fuck, you have gone through shit. And look at where you're at. Like, you are beaming. You are glowing right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually, I can either, and that's where you have to pick your battles. Like you can either be petty and like pity yourself and like put yourself down, or you can like choose to live your life, literally, like live your life, hop on the life train and keep pushing, keep fighting. Don't give up, like as hard as it might seem. Use your resources, love yourself, spread positivity, don't waste energy unnecessarily. Because at the end of the day, like YOLO, literally YOLO. Like,
I love it.
yeah.
All right, so we got a few more minutes to close up this chapter. Is there anything, Mo, that you want to share with my viewers before we say goodbye to this?
Yeah, so I actually have a quote, as I had told you too, where it says, "You're not the person that you were last year," and that is so fucking beautiful. And just think about that. Like we're always learning. There's always room for growth. You're always evolving, and accept it. Accept yourself. Love yourself. And also, I highly recommend the book "The Power of Now" by Eckhart Tolle. It's kind of hard to read because it's very philosophical, but if you can put yourself through it, it's life changing. And I wanted to share that I am starting a podcast as well called The Mo You Know. And I'm going to be talking about more social construction views on issues that we face or we have faced. A lot of it deals with like sex and sexuality, but ultimately, sex ed and education is where we develop a lot of the views that we have in life, even with ourselves. So stay tuned for that. Tiara's gonna be on it, hopefully. She said yes already, so.
Okay, so on your podcast, do you know what platform you're gonna be using to share this podcast?
Yeah, I'll be on every where you can stream podcasts. So iHeartRadio, Apple Music, like the little Apple podcast thing, Spotify. I think that's it. Just pretty like any of the big platforms where you can stream it. And I'll probably be posting something I think March, towards the end of March. I'm just gonna do that because I don't want to put too much on my plate. So be cautious of that too. Like that's another thing. Know what you can handle and don't make empty promises.
I love that. And what about your drag? Do you have a drag Instagram? Do you want to share that with me?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Hola Momo. That's my personal Instagram. But my drag Instagram is Miss Moesha Snacks. You can just find it on my regular Instagram. And I'm hoping to evolve her. She kind of represents my mom, like the woman that I look up to, like my mom, my grandmother, my best friend, her mom. And it's just a mixture of all of them and all of like the celebrities and icons that I love and I'm obsessed with. And it just brings out this like other side of me that I just was never comfortable with. That it's kind of becoming who I am now too, but she's just extravagant and we'll see where she takes me down the line. We'll see what happens with her.
Yes, I love it. All righty. Well, I think that's the end of it. Let's go ahead and take a final cheers before we close up this chapter. Cheers.
Cheers.
Alrighty, I want to thank everyone for watching Tea Time with T and M on chapter 32, Life is Worth Living with Mo Helpin. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.